face do you make to the camera? What kind of face do you make to the camera when you go live? All right, so it's Obi, Chloe, Slater, and OPD's in the house. Okay, so specifically, we have Sergeant Young Hall. We've had a really great friendship for a long time. Corporal Ben McCallie, he and I, the last time that we talked, you were in here with Young Hall, and you guys really knocked it out of the park. This time, you brought the big guns. So Casey Jeanette, right? Another corporal that we have with us. And you guys, when you guys talk, if you guys can get close to that microphone, that's going to be the way that everybody's going to be able to hear you.
I'm just gonna bring it in.
Just do a little. Everyone's always afraid of the mic, but thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time. I know that any time away from you doing what you're supposed to be doing out in the community is a big deal. So thank you again for spending some time with us here on the morning show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I wanted to be respectful just because you guys are joining us on a very timely day where yesterday we were covering. Yesterday, actually, Chloe and I, we had to pivot the whole morning show because of what took place in Nashville. And, we congratulated Metro Nashville's police department for jumping into action so quickly and being able to take care of business the way that they did. And we thought with you guys coming in today, just what is that like when you hear that news happening and you know that also is your job?
Well, it breaks our hearts. Our hearts go out to the families that had to suffer through this tragedy. But I hope everyone understands that, it can happen anytime, any day. And we are out there. And while most people run away from gunfire, the police departments, we run to gunfire. And I hope God gives me the strength one day, if it ever happens here. I'm hoping and praying that it never does. But if it does happen, that he gives me the strength to go in and handle business.
Wow.
Powerful.
I did have a question. When that does happen the next day, even though that wasn't in our city, that was in Nashville, is there a meeting in Orlando you can just speak on as far as that they say, okay, everybody knows what to do if this happened in our city? Like, what is the day after in another city when this happens? What did I hear? 129 mass attacks. There already were where there were like a mass, what is that? Mass shooting is what, 4 more? Is that what they consider a mass shooting? And this year alone, in the first 86 days of 2023, there was 129.
Wow.
That happens. So when it happens in another city, it's obviously not just another day when something happens at an elementary school, but what does that next day look like?
Well, the next day is always, it's a reality check for us. So we're always training for this type of event. We're never going to be ready until we know we get into it and it happens. But we're training so that we can be ready. That's the only way we're going to know what to do and have a smooth transition.
Well, and the 2 officers that took down the person that was inside, they were a few years older than me. They were in their 20s. They were so young.
They looked so young. I saw their faces and it was just like, that's so young to have to deal with that already in their career.
And I think one officer was 4-year veteran and the other was a 9. So just still so new.
Right.
Yeah, and people don't understand. It's not normal for us to take down a threat in such manner. It's not normal. So we're human. We will be affected by something tragic like that. My heart goes out to the families and the officers who had to deal with that. We shouldn't have to deal with this type of incident. Not here in America.
It's terrible.
And we're all parents, so I want the cops, if that should ever happen at my child's school, to be like those guys and go in there and take care of
absolutely
the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Corporal Jeanette, if you don't mind, you just talked about being a parent. What do you tell your kids? Because I said on the air yesterday, I said I had no choice but to talk to my kids about it because we heard it on the news, all of us together in the car. So I was like, okay, well, I got to have this conversation. What is your conversation like with your kids? And if you can get real close to that mic, we'd love to hear that. What is the advice from somebody who wears a badge for a living?
Yeah. So I have a 5-year-old. So he's little. He's in kindergarten. I just tried to tell him to listen to the teachers and the police officer that's at their school. They have a officer there every day, thank God. A actual police officer with a gun. And my other child is in middle school, so he's, very aware. He's in 7th
Mhm.
grade, and he goes to a Christian school, and he said they had a meeting about it at school yesterday. And like in their chapel, they discussed it. And so he's very aware. So I can have more of a candid conversation with him.
Yeah.
And his parents are police officers. So
Oh, wow.
he had maybe has a little more understanding
Mhm.
and appreciation than maybe some other kids might.
Well, okay. So tell me if my advice to my kids were wrong, and then we can kind of move along. But my advice to my kids were, the school's going to do their best to try to have some policy in place with the people in place. But to you kids as individuals, I'm going to trust that you guys are going to try to be as sharp as possible in that moment. So if you have to run and hide and you end up crying in the closet, I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. I do tell him to hide.
Well, and I told my son, I don't know why I expected this of him, but I said, if you're like your dad, because I'm the one who kind of tends to be like, okay, let me see how I can help. I'm okay with that too. But just be smart and be sharp, and like you said, follow what the teachers do. But sometimes I get it if a teacher freaks out too.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, they probably think about it all day, like worrying if it's going to happen. I hope
Totally.
they have a
Yeah.
mental plan.
Ugh.
Well, and God bless the teachers. I mean, it's not like there's 2 or 3 students in there. They have a classroom full of 20 to 30 kids.
Yeah, it's got to be terrifying to be in that situation, and they're unarmed.
Yeah.
They
Mhm.
got to do the best that they can do.
Okay, so let's talk about, because we talked about how young the officers were that took down this person over in Nashville. Can we talk about the young officers that are coming in? There's a lot of times where we get to do festivals. I also sit on the board of the Orlando Police's foundation. And so we get to see a lot of these officers that come in that are young and ready and willing, and we need more of that, right?
Absolutely.
And that's where you guys step in. You guys, can you speak about the job a little bit?
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. So when we're picking new police officers, typically we like to hire people with a little life experience, career experience. That way they can make better choices out there in the road. They're too young. They just don't have that life experience we're looking for.
Mhm.
But, they'll surprise us. Depends on what they've been through in their lives. If they've been through a lot, they come in, they have a good interview with us and show us they're more mature than what their age is. It has a lot of consideration for that. So we're looking for the parents who know how to deal with kids, who know how to talk to people, who've been in relationships, and they know the difficulties and the struggles of a relationship, especially dealing with domestic violence cases, child abuse. So
Wow.
all this comes into factor. So it's not just all about having a bachelor's degree or a master's
Mhm.
degree. It's about having life experience. Those are the I think most important for me.
Wow.
And what's
All right.
the age range?
So
What's
yeah,
the youngest officer you've hired?
so you have to be at least 21 years of age,
Okay.
and we've hired 21-year-olds. And in the past, when I got hired back in 2006, I hired in at 34. So I didn't have a whole lot of education on my resume, but I had a lot of life experience and work experience.
Mhm.
So I already had two young children, and I think they looked at that and said I was ready. Now I hired in with another classmate of mine. He was 21 years old,
Wow.
but man, he was a mature 21-year-old,
Wow.
and he did phenomenal. And he excelled at this agency, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
Wow. Wow. So Corporal McCallie, if you can step up to that mic when you're looking at potential recruits. See, I was telling Chloe earlier, I said, oh, I could never be an officer. I'm so short. If I were to arrive on the scene, see,
You were being so mean to yourself.
I was being mean to myself, but
this morning.
but I told Chloe, I said, I could see if I stepped onto the scene, so maybe you can speak to this. When you step onto the scene, your presence, what are you looking for? Are you looking for somebody who has a presence? Right? You're not looking for somebody who's going to come in like, oh, well, I want to be a cop, guys.
Is that you? That you didn't sound like that.
I want to be a
You
cop.
definitely
guys.
don't want to be like that. Definitely. So no, it's all that a situation like that. It's all about command presence. But what I'm looking for, and I kind of spoke about this the last time that we talked, is I'm looking for someone that's going to replace me eventually. Now, I'm not looking for someone that's going to be exactly like me. I'm not
Mhm.
going to find that person, because I remember when I first hired in as a police officer, and I came from a different agency. I worked there for 11 years, and then I came to OPD.
Wow.
So when I first came in as a police officer, I was, 25 years old, something like that. I had some life experience, but I wasn't that hit the ground, go getter police officer. I still had to learn. I still had to, get my feet wet and
Mhm.
start doing all that stuff. That's what I'm looking for, is that officer that's eager, that wants to learn, that wants to go out and help the community, and eventually get molded into that supervisor, that leader, and go forward and do things in the community. So that's who I'm looking for. If I talk to someone and I see those attributes, those qualities in someone, I'm like, man, this is the person that I want to hire, to bring in, because they're going to do really good in the agency. That's who I'm going to bring on, because they're going to eventually replace me in this position. So that's kind of what I'm going for when I bring them in. If they've got those qualities, definitely want to hire them.
Okay, who comes in with qualities that you're like, nah, buddy, sorry. What kind of qualities are you not looking for?
The big thing with me is honesty. Honesty.
Whoa.
And it comes down to, deception. Tell me the truth. A lot of times it's, people think that if they've done things in the past, it's going to hurt them coming into this job, and it may not. But if you hide it from me, that's what hurts me.
Ooh.
That's really what hurts me. And it's just minor things. We're all human.
Right.
Talk
We're
about
all
the
human.
worst person to lie to, though.
Exactly.
It's when you're trying to
Seriously.
step in.
But it's
Like-
and it's not just you're lying to me. You have to imagine, if you're lying to me, I'm the person that eventually is going to present your paperwork to the chief, that's going to give you a job that not only are you going out and protecting the citizens, but eventually you may have to be in a courtroom in front of a judge
Totally.
and
Sure.
a jury
Whoa.
and other attorneys presenting a case. And if,
Wow.
I push you through to do that, and you've been deceitful on an application, now
Wow.
what's that going to look like?
Mhm.
So that's what I'm looking at when I'm bringing you through the application. I'm not just looking at, right here, present time. I'm looking, 15 years down the road. How
Wow.
are you going to be as an officer? So it's a process, and you have to be very, very specific and picky. So it's a tough job. It's a tough process to pick people to come in this career.
Okay. I've got one last question, and then Slater, if you want, you can take over.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Chloe, did you have a
Chloe-
question?
I have one
Chloe had a
question.
tip. Yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead.
go. Well, okay. So last question is benefits. Corporal Jeanette, if you can, talk to us about the benefits of wearing the badge. The benefits of serving the community. How about that? That's the better phrase.
Okay, well, obviously, we all have a calling at some level to do this job. You're going to be able to help people, and when you really do get to help people, it is a good feeling. You're usually meeting with people, and it's
Mhm.
probably like one of the worst days they've had. They're having a really bad day, and if you can turn it around and help them and make them feel better about whatever their problem is, it is a good feeling. Like the officers in Nashville getting to actually save lives like that, it's unbelievable feeling. So it's just, you have to have a good heart for this
Mhm.
job, and hopefully continue to have that throughout your career.
Mom.
And when
Okay.
you talk about heart, I had an incident happen to me at my apartment complex where on Friday morning, obviously with our job, we're in here, around 5 a.m. every day. So it's pitch black outside when we leave. And where I live, I have to walk around my building through the parking garage to get to where I need to go. And I had, a gentleman that was there right by my door, and I felt very uncomfortable. So I ended up calling 911, and the police officers were at my door within 10 minutes. And they made me feel so comfortable. Like, it was just, I was shaking. I was so upset. I couldn't even remember where I lived. Like, they asked me for my home address, and I couldn't even tell them that. So just to your point, how shaken up people can be when you see
Right.
them. And so they were so welcoming and so comfortable, and made me feel so safe. And so my question for any of you can answer this, as a female, what's kind of your best practices for maybe someone that, has a job where they work really late at night and they go to leave, or somebody that's up really early in the morning, like I am?
Right. I think what you did was great. You went with your gut, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. But you had that feeling, and you went back in your apartment, right? You got back in there, and you were safe, and you called the police. And just don't feel stupid. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't want to bother them with this, but just
Wow.
And
bother
that's how I
us.
felt. I did. I was like, well, this isn't an
Right.
emergency. There's nothing wrong. And there may not be anything wrong. This could
Exactly.
be
Hopefully,
right. Someone
you're
that's
wrong.
Right. Exactly.
but there's nothing wrong with calling us. That's what we're here for. We'd
Bomb.
much rather come out there and have it be nothing,
Mhm.
and then you feel better, and we'll go get a coffee.
Well, and the
Yeah,
body,
good.
the body is programmed with its own warning system too. So when you said, when you said the gut, I was like, oh yeah, we should trust our gut feeling because really that's the body's way of like, hey, something's not right.
Mhm. And
Some-
it's just a good reminder for all of us too. Like, even if it's not an emergency, we can still, like I did, picked up the phone and called them. And I even said to the dispatcher, I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I don't know, this isn't an emergency. And I don't know if they are able to come. And they were there with no problem.
Right. So who knows the police department's phone numbers? Nobody. That's why we have
Mhm.
911. And yes, it's for emergencies. But the first question they'll ask you is this an emergency? And you can say no, and that's fine.
Mhm.
And if it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. But no harm in calling. And we want to come out there and help and hopefully keep you safe. And hopefully it's nothing.
Awesome. All right,
Go ahead.
Slater.
Go ahead.
Oh.
So I would recommend you tell the management at your
Yep.
property,
I did.
because if they're unaware of these types of problems, they're not going to be able to fix it. But lighting is a huge thing, right?
Wow.
So when you have light, you feel safer. But it's just an added protection. So there are police departments that will come out and they'll do an assessment for these properties, and they'll give them tips on
Wow.
That's
what
great
they can do.
advice.
If they have surveillance
Mhm.
video, they can add additional cameras on blind spots, trim down bushes so that people can't hide behind there.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
you have more visual so that you're not walking into an ambush versus being able to see clearly and then avoid that area.
I'm gonna do that around my
Yeah.
house.
And that's a
Yeah.
good reminder too, because I mean, half the time when I park my car, it's bright daylight. I go inside, do dinner, and then I wake up the next morning. And there are parts of garages in general where it can be a darker spot, or maybe there's more light. So that's just a good tip and a good reminder for all of us that are listening.
Yeah,
We need
love
to
it.
be able to see the address. Sometimes it's overgrown. Like,
Yeah.
he mentioned trimming the trees, but yeah, a lot of times you can't see the address. And if you don't go to that apartment complex all
Right.
the time, the cops maybe don't know what building
Right.
you're talking about.
Great tips. Thank you guys.
All right, Slater.
Okay, this is my favorite part, obviously.
Now the
so
fun.
I know you probably work crazy hours. We get to actually wake up early so we can watch some of these TV shows. Okay, so it's a game that I came up with, famous TV law enforcers. Okay, so I don't know, Obi, if you want to be, you could stay where you are, but
Okay.
if you want to join up with the gentleman, and maybe you could come over with
Lady
Chloe,
takeover.
and
Let's do
so-
it.
so
The
that way-
ladies got
that way we
this.
can do this. Why don't we do first to 3? So in front of you, you can flip that over, and that right there. So there are
Come join me.
There are TV shows that
Oh,
we
boy.
have, and Obi, I put one in front of you too, if you want to look, so that way
I'm
you
Have you
I'm
seen any?
I'm showing the
Oh,
audience right now.
You're looking right now, okay? So it's the first to 3
I've
of
seen
these
bits and
2
pieces.
teams, okay? I'm going to list a TV officer and give a hint to help you out, and then whoever knows it first, just yell it out, okay? The first one, Officer Bar Brady. Hint. Nope, not The Simpsons, but you can keep guessing, okay? The hint
Bar
is
Brady.
cartoon. Is a cartoon officer that
Oh,
started.
son,
and they,
son of
okay,
a
South
gun.
Park. Okay,
That's not fair.
that's
I didn't
one for
watch
Team
South
Chloe.
He's a horrible officer, by the way.
Okay. All right.
South Park.
Why don't we do this? Hank Voight. He's the head of the
Oh.
Intel unit,
Brooklyn
Chicago
Nine-Nine.
PD.
Chicago PD. That
Ah.
works. So Team Obi, Team Chloe. So
All right.
1-1. All right. Andy Taylor.
Andy Griffith.
All right.
Oh!
That's 2. I said first to 3, right?
That was a tie.
Okay.
First-
Okay.
That was a
So-
tie.
okay, then
she
this
was
is-
on it.
Then this is the tiebreaker,
Okay.
okay? So whoever gets this right. We have Sonny Crockett and
Miami
Rico
Vice.
Tubbs. There we go.
He was ready.
Obi's got it.
He was ready.
You officers are the best.
Yeah, y'all, thank you so much. Again, we have Corporal Jeanette, Corporal McCallie, and then we have Young Hall. Thank you again, guys, for your time. And thank you again for your service. Thank you for all
Thank
your
you.
words. Your words, they inspire. We have thousands of people who watch, thousands of people who listen. And we hope that the right people, Corporal Jeanette, you said this earlier, calling. And there's somebody listening right now that something's going to happen in your heart that you're going to be like, this is me. And if it's you, they want to hear from you.
And where can they find you guys? So if someone's listening right now and they're like, you know what? I want to learn more.
Absolutely. You can go to our website, orlando.gov/police. You can call us. Our main recruiting number is 407-246-2549. You can come down to police headquarters, 1250 West South Street. There's usually someone in the office during business hours. If not, flag down an Orlando police officer and say, hey, I'm interested in recruiting. We always have recruiting events. Tomorrow, we're going to be in Lake Buena Vista at a
Wow.
Reliant Career Fair. We're going to
Wow.
be there from 10 to 3.
Cool.
So if they want to come down to that, there'll be 4 recruiters down there just talking about OPD and all the different benefits that we have. We would love to hear from them. So anybody that wants to apply, we are hiring. So please reach out to us.
Love it.
For all
Again.
those young people, just Google Orlando Police Careers.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Easiest way.
Easy.
Okay. Okay. So again, Corporal McCallie, Corporal Jeanette, Sergeant Young Hall, thank you so much for your time, guys.
you,
Thank
Obi.
you guys for all you do for our community. We're so blessed and
Anytime
so
you want
grateful.
back in. Yeah.
Thank you for
Anytime you want
having
back
us.
in.
We have a wonderful time. I listen to your show every day.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
That's cool.
So sweet.
All right, y'all. And thank you guys for watching the stream. And thank you for supporting OPD and K92.3. It means a lot.
Bye, y'all.
Cool.